I never meant to fall in love with him. I knew the lie, the life, the man sleeping, who still doesn't know. It was supposed to be one decision, one clean break, one store. But stories don't stay buried, and some lies grow roots. His name was David Callahan, detective, first grade, Baltimore PD, Crimes Against Persons Unit, decorated, stoic, the kind of man who didn't lie. The kind of man you don't lie to, unless you already. We met in a metal room that smelled like coffee and antiseptic. He walked in carrying a file and 2 paper schreibers, set one in front of me. Cream and 1 sugar. Yes, I blinked. Lucky guess. He didn't smile. Not luck, I pay attention. And Jay, my name is Madeline Wright. At least, I'd been picked up as a witness, so they thought. Wrong place, wrong time. A man named Etch, fractured skull, DOA. But I'd been there. We were arguing. He grabbed me. I pulled away, and then 4 flights of concrete, silence, no cameras, no Whitney, no proof except me and H. The first time David asked for my version, I gave. I was trying to leave. He followed me. He slipped. All of it true. But not the whole truth. The whole truth? I didn't scream. I didn't call for help. I watched. As Evan's feet left, as his arms flailed, as his head struck the edge of the landing, I watched. And I did nothing, because some part of me was glad. I'd moved to the city 6 months earlier, took a job as an events, barely enough to afford my rent, which Evan collected in person. Every week he had a reason to come inside. Something to check, a heater, a leak, a fuse, and always a hand on my arm. A step too close. I told people. They said file a complaint. But you can't file a complaint against a man who's already 10 steps ahead. David closed his file. There's a part you're not telling. I looked down. I was scared. That's not the part I mean. Silence. He leaned in. I lifted my eyes, met his gaze, didn't blink, and he let me go. That should have been it. No charges were filed. Evan's death was ruled accidental. The case closed quietly, but David didn't stop calling. Sighed. Then he asked if I liked Thai food, if I'd seen that new documentary, if I wanted company. I should have said no, but he was kind, tired but kind, and so was I. Our first date was a bar that smelled like rain and warm bread. He didn't ask about the case. I didn't offer anything new. We talked about books, music, what I missed about home. When he laughed, it surprised me. Soft, low, honest. I didn't expect to see him again. But he called me. And the next 3 months, and I had a drawer in his house. 6 months, and I didn't lie to him, not outright. I just never told him the part he didn't want to find. David had an old dog named Rex, half blind, deaf in one ear. He loved that dog more than most people. One night, after too much wine, David said, "You ever think life gives you one chance?" I didn't answer. He reached over, took my hand. "I think you're mine." The guilt was quiet at first, just a whisper, a flicker, the pause between 2 heartbeats, but then it became a presence. Like static. When he proposed, he took me to a lakeside cabin. Just us. A picnic. A ring. "You make me feel like I'm not chasing ghosts anymore," he said. And I cried, said yes, because what else do you say when the lie has become your only truth? We married in the spring. Courthouse. Simple. His partner stood as best man. No family, no big moment. Just 2 signatures. I became Mrs. Callahan. Detect, trusted, loved, safe. I cooked dinner, left notes in his uniform pocket, wash. But every time he came home late, every time the news mentioned a reopened cold case, every time he looked at me a second too long, I thought, he knows. But he never asked again. The first letter came on a plain envelope, no return address, inside, a photo. Me, Evan on the floor, a grainy still from an angle I didn't know existed. And one line, "You watched him die." I burned it. Thought it was a twisted coincidence. Until the second one came, a week later, same envelope, different P, closer, my face clear, my eyes blank, and another line, "Truth doesn't." I didn't tell David, but I blank. The third letter didn't have a photo, just a name, a motel address, a room number, "Come alone," or he finds. I stared at it for hours. My hands didn't stop shaking, and then I went. The motel was cheap, off a service road, too quiet. Room 209. I knocked. The man who opened the door was thin, gray hoodie. Face I didn't recognize. "Madeline," he said. "Or is it Mrs. Ka?" He smiled. "Don't worry, I'm not." I stepped inside. The room stank of cigarettes and vinegar. "Who are you?" "I used to work with Evan," he said, "until he decided threats were more profitable than rent." I froze. He laughed. "Oh, you didn't know? He was filming you." For my mouth dried. He pointed to a USB on the table. "Everything's on here. The camera he hid in your stairwell. He said it was for insurance. Guess you cashed that policy. I didn't spare. He leaned forward. Don't worry, I'm not a cop, I'm just broke. And then he said it. But your husband is. He wanted $50,000. Said he'd disappear afterward. Said I left. Told him I needed time. Promised I wouldn't run. He let me go. That night, he was telling a story about a robbery suspect. I laughed at the rig, smiled when he kissed my temple, and the whole time I thought, what if I gave him the USB? What if I finally told the truth? But I didn't. The next morning, I emptied the savings account, all of it, dropped it in a duffel, met the man behind the gas station. He counted the mo, tossed me the USB. One copy, he said. Destroy it if you want, or don't. But that's everything. He disappeared. I drove to the bay, parked near the docks, sat with the USB in my hand, tiny, black, lethal. I should have thrown it in. But I didn't. Instead, I went home, buried it under the cedar planks behind the wall, just in case. 2. His face was pale. What's wrong? I asked. He sat at the table, took off his badge, set it down, then he looked at me. My heart stopped. Summon Itar. Do you be? He studied me. I don't know yet. Then, I just want to ask you one more time. A long pause. Did you push him? I opened my mouth, closed it, then said, no, and he believed me for now. He believed me. Even when his voice trembled. Even when his fingers hovered over the badge like it could anchor him to the truth. Even when he looked straight into the eyes of the woman he loved, and I lied to him again. He believed me. But I didn't sleep that night. The anonymous tip had reached internal affairs. The same stairwell, the same time. Someone claimed there was footage. Of the fall. Of me. David sat at the kitchen table, eyes distant, swirling his coffee without drinking it. They'll ask to interview you again, he said. It's protocol. Of course, I replied, soft as paper. I kissed his temple, watched his hand shake just slightly as he reached for his phone. He wasn't sure anymore. And it was killing both of us. They brought me in on a Tuesday. Same station, same cold room. A younger detective this time, Sanchez. Fresh-faced, professional, not cruel, but deliberate. We're re-reviewing testimony, she said. New context, just routine. I kept my voice level. My statement hasn't changed, she nodded. Of course, but can you walk me through it again? I told the story. Again, every line rehearsed. What I saw, what I did, what I didn't do. But this time, she didn't just take notes. She watched me, every flicker, every breath. You're very calm, she said at the end. I smiled. That's because I've lived with this for a long time. David picked me up afterward. We didn't talk on the drive. Just the soft hum of the tires on asphalt and the static of the radio between stations. At home, he poured 2 glasses of wine, handed me one, and said, if there's something you need to tell me, this is the moment. And I almost did. The words built behind my teeth. Truths waiting like caged animals. I could feel my mouth forming the syllables. The weight of the USB still buried under the floorboards like a curse. But I couldn't say it, not without losing him. So I said, I love you. And he closed his eyes. That was the last time he asked, until the letter came. This time, it wasn't addressed to me. It was sent to David, at the precinct. No return address. Inside, just one sentence. Ask your wife about the flash drive under the closet floor. He didn't mention it that night. But I could feel the shift. The way he avoided looking at me for too long. The way he left the bedroom light on, the way he checked his phone twice while pretending not to. He didn't say a word. But I knew. At 2 a.m. I got up, went to the linen closet. I moved the plank, took out the USB, held it in my palm. It was warm, like it had a pulse. I walked into the kitchen. David was sitting at the table in his robe. He didn't flinch when he saw me. You found it, he said quietly. I nodded. He held out his hand. I gave it to him. We didn't speak for almost 5 minutes. He plugged it into his laptop. He didn't look at me, just pressed play. The footage loaded. A flickering grayscale image of the stairwell. Evan entering first. Me behind him, voices muted. The argument started. He grabbed me. I stepped back. He lunged. His foot slipped. He stumbled. And then, the pause. That one terrible second where I could have grabbed him, stopped him, saved him, but I didn't. I just stood there and watched him fall. David didn't move. He just watched the moment. Rewound it, paused it again. My frozen face, eyes wide, unblinking, a statue. He closed the laptop, removed the USB, set it on the table. Then he said, I need some air. And he walked out. He didn't come back for 2 days. I didn't eat, didn't sleep. I just sat at the window, watching the street, every car that passed, every set of footsteps, waiting. When he finally returned, he looked exhausted, older. He stood in the doorway. "I filed a report," he said. I nodded. I told them the truth, that I'd received the USB, that it was old footage, that it changed nothing. My mouth parted. "David," I told them, he interrupted, "that it was an accident, that you froze, that anyone would have." He stepped closer, eyes unreadable. I told them the truth I wanted to believe. And then he said, "But I don't know what you felt. I don't know if you watched him die or let him die." Silence. "I don't know you, Maddie." Tears blurred my vision. "But I love you," he said. And that was worse, because I didn't deserve it. He stayed. We lived together. A house full of quiet, no more laughter, no more Sunday breakfasts. But we pretended, because what else could we do? The case was formally closed. Again, internal affairs moved on, but something in us didn't. Something never would. 1 year later, he was shot in the line of duty. A domestic call gone wrong. An ambush. He survived 3 weeks in the ICU. I sat beside him every day, held his hand, prayed, and when he finally opened his eyes, he whispered, "I saw Evan." My breath caught. "What?" In the hallway, while I was out. He closed his eyes again. "He forgave you." He was never quite the same, but neither was I. We never spoke of it again. The USB, the stairwell, the fall. We lived, quietly, lovingly in a way, like people who'd walked through fire and chose to stay close to the burn. Years passed. David retired early. We moved to the coast, got a dog, adopted a girl. Her name is Anna. She knows us as mom and dad, and she will never know. Sometimes I wake in the middle of the night, the USB still glowing in my mind. But I don't reach for it. I don't dig it up. I let it stay where it belongs. Buried. With the woman I used to be.